Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay. So my name is Bhargavi. Uh, Before I talk about what I do currently, I am deeply passionate about financial literacy. I have worked with blue-collar workers, the who's who of Indian legal profession, also government school children, and you know what they all had in common? Nobody knew anything about money. So, ranging from kids in fourth or sixth standard, right through the most savviest legals, everybody is still figuring out what to do with money if they have, and if they don't have, then how to get some. So, I am deeply happy to be here today with my esteemed panelists to talk about the subject of financial literacy and how it will adapt to the age of AI. Uh, Currently, I run Aditya Birla Capital Digital and Aditya Birla Capital One. And our mission is simple, to make everything finance as simple as ABCD. So today's customers are no longer asking for more information, right? They want this information to be converted into a conversation or to an actionable insight that's relevant and personalized to them. And we have used AI not as a decorative feature at ABCD, but in fact to make some of these things happen. So similarly, I'm sure in each of your organizations and in each of your areas of work, you must be adapting AI to this cause that I'm sure, since I've met most of you and all of you earlier, equally passionate about, and that's what we're here to talk about today. The first question, I'll introduce my panelists. We'll start with Alok Chandra Jena ji.
Good morning to you all, in fact. I'm Alok Jena. I'm heading an organization called National Center for Financial Education. This is an organization formed by 4 regulators: Reserve Bank of India, SEBI, IRDI, and PFRDA. And the objective of this organization is to propagate financial literacy amongst each and every citizen of the country. So we have a lot of responsibility. In fact, we'll talk about it. And what ma'am said, that we are pretty passionate about financial literacy, and we want to see a day where each and every individual, every citizen in the country is financially literate. Thank you.
Thank you. Abhilash.
Good morning. My name is Abhilash. I am proud to be part of the National Stock Exchange. I run the NSE Academy, which is an integral part of the stock exchange. Our mission is to provide financial literacy and education as a necessary life skill. Our impact is right from school education to higher education and working professionals. We provide certifications, higher education pathways, and executive education programs. 2 broad areas of impact: workforce readiness, helping our fresh graduates get their first career in banking, financial services, and fintech space. And second is workforce development, helping organizations reskill, upskill, and cross-skill their employees to meet the new age demands of the BFSI industry. Very happy to be here.
Thanks, Abhilash. Aparna.
Namaskar. I'm Aparna. I'm a founder of Nexora Tech. I work across industry. I have an experience around 31 years in BFSI, ex-CIO of HSBC and ex-CIO of SBI. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Mamtha Mudliar Vaidya, and I'm a part of the Association of Mutual Funds in India, popularly known as for the Mutual Fund Sahi Hai campaign. But the Association of Mutual Funds in India is basically it's an industry body, and all the asset management companies which are registered with SEBI are members of AMFI. So for us, like most of the people on the panel, financial literacy is extremely important, and a lot of it is being said through the Mutual Fund Sahi Hai campaign. So I'm happy to be here and share, the stage with so many esteemed panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamtha. So, Jena ji, we'll start with you. You're to my right. You've, of course, mentioned that you have 4 regulators who have participated in setting up the institution. And you would have certainly seen the national financial literacy infrastructure and capabilities grow over the years. And you'll have a 360-degree view. So can you tell me where we are? Are we ready for a national literacy digital financial literacy framework? And what progress has been made? And how AI can help accelerate that?
Yeah, in fact, financial literacy, as per the common understanding, uh, that that comes to our mind is the money management. We have seen a lot of people. In fact, if you go presently, we get a picture of a beggar in front of Gateway of India using a QR code and also monitoring his um, during the day business with his partner somewhere else using a app in his mobile. So we have reached at that stage in India. But as far as the financial literacy is concerned, in fact, we are trying to measure financial literacy among the citizens, and we use a framework. We generally follow a framework which is globally accepted, like OECD has given a framework where we not only talks about the knowledge part of it, the knowledge, which is the more important, is the behavior, financial knowledge, financial behavior, and also financial attitude. So all the three components of financial literacy are very, very important. And as far as the digital financial literacy is concerned, because we are in a digital age where it is in addition to financial knowledge, behavior, and attitude, we should have a digital literacy. And where we are today, in fact, the government, in fact, there is a committee headed by the finance minister, which is called as FSDC. They have directed that we should have a national level strategy for propagating financial literacy. In fact, we are formulating a strategy at the national level. So there it says that the present strategy is the terminal year of this year. Next year we are going to have a strategy, and the strategy should be based on evidence. It should be based on data. So before formulating the strategy, we do a survey, all India survey. I think sample size is almost 1 lakh, where we measure the financial literacy. And this year we are trying to measure digital financial literacy and also the financial well-being, whether financial literacy leads to financial inclusion or not, and financial inclusion leads to financial resilience, and financial resilience lead to financial well-being or not. That is the objective of this strategy. In fact, the present strategy has a 5C approach. 5C approach means it is communication, collaborations, capacity, and all this, so that we will not regulators or only government can do this. The stakeholders are many, so that all stakeholders should be active in formulating the strategy. In fact, the last survey that was conducted in 2019, we have not a very encouraging figure where in India 27% of the people are financially literate. And if you are talking about digital financial literacy, it was, as per the interim survey that was done, it was in fact less than that. It was around 26%. So that is, again, there is a divide, gender divide, geographical divide, rural-urban divide, and there are divide in terms of tech divides. So those aspects has to be taken care of in the strategy. And where we are today in terms of digital financial literacy is almost, if you see, the transactions are many. UPI transactions are heavy. In fact, the people using transactions in the mobile are pretty high. In fact, there is some survey which says 61% of the populations are using digital transactions. Whereas, if you see the divide between the urban and rural areas only 21% people are using these digital transactions. So I think if you take a population of 1.4 billion of India, out of which only, if you take 1 billion is the target group, which they should really be financially literate. I say that financial literate means their behavior part is more important. It's not just the transactional knowledge. What we have mostly is the transactional knowledge. How this transactional knowledge lead to be financial behavior is very, very important, and the right kind of financial attitude, that should be the proper way of doing this. So the approach that we adopt, I think it's a collaborative approach. I think everybody, all stakeholders has to be involved in this approach. And as you go forward, I think we'll give more emphasis from financial literacy to digital financial literacy, where the digital literacy also is very important. I think most of the regulators, especially Reserve Bank of India, if you see, they do this RBI kehta hai. I think everybody should listen to that. Means we all should sunte hain. So what they say. So all these things, they have a lot of financial literacy centers, they have spread all over the country. And there is a PMG DISA where they talk about digital literacy. So all this combined, there is a lot of need for inter-activity correlations between different programs. And at NCFE also we have huge number of programs specifically targeted to different communities, one of the C's in that strategy. So the community specific strategies are there. So there we do specific programs for rural women, specific program for students. One of the important things I would like to inform here is that if you compare the global financial literacy data, you find that many Scandinavian countries, not US, or some of the countries in Asia like Singapore, they have high financial literacy. And the reason for that we studied, one of the very important reason is the integration of financial literacy content in the school curriculum. All these countries like Norway, Sweden, or even Denmark and Singapore, you find that these children at a very early age, maybe at the age of 10 or 11, start reading about financial literacy, which was not thought of. Maybe when I went to a school, I never read about money management or not read about even money. I even don't know if in the school curriculum you find that. So that the little citizens of India, those who are in fact know about money management, and we are trying to integrate what should the age appropriate the contents that should go into the school curriculum. That's a very important factor which we think that will take into these literacy spread effectively.
Thanks, Alokji. So, Mamtha, I think Mr. Jena referred to the fact that, how everybody's using UPI payments because it's become so easy, not preachy. Same goes for mutual funds. It's a lovely slogan, bite-sized products, you can do SIPs, everybody's on it. So how do you now see AI helping us take this current level of success, let's say in the mutual fund industry, to the next level of trust building and ecosystem building?
Sir has in fact covered quite a few data points as well when it comes to the financial literacy pan-India. And India is a vast country, right? We are talking about so many metros, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities. So when you're talking about such a vast country and the number of states, the number of languages that are being spoken, it's a task, a challenge when it comes to trust building, to create that kind of mass awareness. So while we have kind of picked up that slogan, which has worked well for us for so many years, people have now understood that there is a financial product, and it has kind of helped us move the needle a bit from savings to investing. But having said that, we still have a very, very long way to go, right? So in terms of AI, there is a lot that can be done, and which we also hope to leverage that to use it to build consistent information, consistent knowledge. The language that we speak about has to be the same across, the message has to be the same across pan-India. Having said that, the way it gets explained, the language in which it gets spoken, the subtle nudges which are there, which are required for hyper-localized messaging, hyper-personalized messaging that is required. So these are the things that AI enables us in a big way. So it's not that if you have to look at training, financial literacy and training that we're talking about, you probably require thousands of trainers, to do this. But with AI, it will kind of enable us to reach a far larger audience at a quicker pace, in a language that they understand, which is very simplified and personalized to that extent. So I believe that, we have to do the best with it. But having said that, it is not just a one-way communication that, I would like to highlight. It's not just we talk about the different financial products that we have. From the investor's perspective also, we need to see that what is the information that we're consuming and where we are consuming it from. Because that becomes critical in the age of AI, where we have people who are using it for all the right reasons. We'll also have our own challenges in terms of people misusing it, right? To a large extent, as investors also, we need to be able to understand as to what works right, what is the right information, and what is it that we need to, the red flags in whatever we see maybe on social media, and reach out to only the verified sources of information. So, these are my thoughts, Bhargavi, on this.
Thank you, Mamtha. Aparna, to you. AI has, of course, Mamta touched upon the fact that the same consistent message, but translated to deliver customization, personalization to each individual, and maybe solving for capacity constraint with trainers. And so now with AI enabling this sort of personalization, how are the banks and the digital platforms integrating this financial literacy, the product knowledge, the responsible decision making, and the regulations into the customer journeys in a cohesive and scalable manner?
So, Bhargavi, in today's world, we don't have anything which is static, right? So the same holds true for financial literacy. So banks normally earlier used to give for your information, and will give you a static information. But now with AI, what has happened, it has become too personalized. And what I mean by that is the information today is now available immediately and intelligently. So AI is giving you that information right now, and which earlier was not the case. The second point, which is also very important to look at it, is because it is generating intelligently, using the data, using the behavior, using a lot of other customer related aspects which are available across, you are now coming up for specific, not just product related information, but it also recommends you. It tells you that, okay, because you may not know what is that particular product offering, and beyond that product, what is coming to your way. Are you ready to take that risk? So that financial literacy now has been moved as an information to a more relevant place to get them what is right to make the decision. And I think banks are working pretty well because the digital footprint has now reached not just to tier 1, but it has gone up to tier 4, 5 as well. So you are catering to mass. Now you are catering to millions of people. So you have to give the information which caters to individual needs. And that is where it is helping by creating the intelligent information, and it's very personalized. Certain things are common about the product information, but whether you should go with that or not is something which is intelligently now provided. And that definitely assists. And we are seeing how people are actually moving from just opening a savings account initially, are now ready to invest in lot of other products based on the information which is provided, and which is based on the each of those individuals data and that segment of customers who are there. So I think it's making quite a bit of impact by making people aware of what is it that they are actually putting their money.
Getting it. Great. Thanks, Aparna. So, Abhilash, over to you. See, everybody now has certain expectations of AI. When you come into enterprise implementations, of course, the range and stage of it varies versus, let's say, consumer applications that are open internet. Uh, in this context, as somebody who leads the NSE Academy, how do you find students and also teachers or the facilitators, uh, coaches, right, in whichever capacity they may be operating? How do you find both of them, and how do you find the institute itself becoming ready for financial literacy, quite literally in the age of AI?
That's a very pertinent question. If in the age of 25 years back, we looked at internet as an equalizer, I think AI, and let me rephrase it, the augmented intelligence, I would love to call it, it can only work if you are intelligent enough to get the work done from the AI. So I think it's now a exponential phase where it is entering into every realm of our life. And education, and now education at the school, college level is also no different. And I think the the pandemic period gave impetus to the requirement. So wherever there is internet, there is a classroom. I love to believe in that fact. As we discussed on this panel, personalization of learning, learning on the flow of go, where if you're working, if you're studying, teachers have used these tools which have come to help teachers make their job much easier. So in a typical classroom, personalization is difficult, but through AI tools, implementing personalization, helping students learn as they want to. Some may be a visual learner, some may be a kinesthetic learner, some may be an auditory learner. Tuning the course curriculum based on the experience of a learner, I think has made learning journey more enjoyable for students. And it is evident in the student outcomes that we see in last few years. For students too, attention spans in last few years because of the digital tools that we use, especially in our hand, the mobile phone, have gone down. So bite-sized learning, breaking the entire learning journey or the curriculum into bite-sized consumable pieces has helped us use those as we go across in the day. uh, Simulations, entering into environments which are not typically available in a school classroom or the infrastructure, using virtual reality tools, to experience a different kind of learning experience. I think these are the tools that are being used, especially in financial education or financial literacy, as we talk about. And somebody in the panel, one of the professors mentioned about the cultural aspects of adoption of the wisdom that we have. Each family, each culture, each society or the ecosystem of the community has certain norms, behaviors, codes that are privy to them as a culture. Adopting them and personalizing them through the education ecosystem is something that is, even language for that matter, learning in your mother tongue is very, very effective about some of the basic concepts of financial literacy. I think so. It's a mass scale impact, but still considering the size and the breadth of our country and the population is a long way to go. But I think these intelligent tools have teachers personalize learning for students, and students have got freedom to learn as they want to, wherever they want to, whenever and whatever they want to learn.
Thanks, Abhilash. So what I took away from that is AI can actually help us make the base content rather than theoretical more inclusive, talking to you in the manner that each person is most comfortable with.
Just one point, sorry. I think that the institutions are now getting into a space which is multilingual. So the customer stickiness is not just about attracting them for the product. I think the financial literacy in the multi-language which they are providing is actually assisting to tier 4, 5, 6. So that becomes very, very important in today's world, as our panelists mentioned, that you are not restricting it only to 1 or 2 languages. You have gone beyond. And that is where it is the customers are ready to take that step, which earlier they were quite apprehensive. So I think that has played a big role in getting the customers come on board and
More
take
comfortable
more
and confident.
comfortable and confident.
No, that's a good point, Aparna. Abhilash, to continue, see, as AI makes knowledge generally democratic and accessible to you in the language of your choice, in the auditory or the visual mode of your choice, etc., I believe that the more everything is publicly available, the more the nuances and the detailing and the experience matters. So, in this context, with so many tools, right, whether as a retail banking consumer or a consumer, or as a student, when everything is so freely available, I dare say, which part of human judgment, right? The AI tells you. I think the professor here said, no, you can tell them the Bhagavad Gita or the bhajan, but it can't give you, the bhakti doesn't come from AI. In a similar manner, which part of that human judgment is still is still even more valid today than probably ever before?
I remember when we were growing up, getting access to a reference book used to be a challenge. And if one had an access to a reference book, they would never tell anybody. Today, the content is available freely. Some of the best master classes, learning, tools are available. The problem is of choice. The architecture that we have and everything nudges us to make that choice immediately themselves. And let me take an example of what will the human judgment come to. Let's take the example of autonomous car. If you go to San Francisco, you can sit in a car and the car can drive you. But unless you know where to drive to, you put the destination, the car will not make the right decision for you. AI tools also work on the same premise. You are the controller, the augmented intelligence is working for you. You have to figure out what your priorities are. Social media, content, everything is screaming at you for adoption. You have to choose what are your top priorities. What are you learning for? What are the outcomes that you're looking to discover? And then make a plan. Otherwise, everything is available. You can sit on five tools and still not get any right outcome of that out of that tool that you're looking at. It's like when we are growing up, TV channels were two. There was no fight at home. Today you want to discuss decide which movie to watch. There are thousands of channels available, but you need to know, do you want to watch a war movie, or you want to watch a rom-com or a Christmas happy-go-lucky movie? The choice is on you. The judgment is on you. The choice is yours. Look at your outcomes, look at your priorities, and make a decision. The tools will help you.
So knowing yourself matters more when AI appears to know everything about you. Jena ji, this brings me to the point, right? Today, the world of AI, it basically works on what's already out there, and models are known for being biased because it works on how the world is. And sometimes, as a species, maybe we want the world to change for the better and move away from what is. So when you talk of discrimination, opportunities that are not equally available to everyone, we want to change these, and it's an ever-evolving progress. How do these AI models, especially when adapted to the uh, very foundational aspect of financial literacy, carry these bias in them, and what can we do to probably be aware of them or mitigate it?
Um, any AI model is as good as the data that is fed to it. In fact, this framework that has been designed, uh, I think presently the LLM models, whatever we are talking about, uh, mostly talks about uh, the knowledge part of it. As I said before, the financial literacy or digital financial literacy not only involves knowledge, the most important aspect is the behavior. What happens with the AI is that the knowledge is instantaneous. You get the knowledge immediately, huge amount of the humongous knowledge. And also this personalized way of using the knowledge. But what is not AI is doing is the behavior part of it. What what we need is there is a confluence, there is a need for the confluence of machine intelligence or the paradigm with the human wisdom. That is more important in terms of synthesizing both these two. But how it can be done, we can think about the models. I think people are still working on this, how this behavioral part of financial literacy is more important that can be done. In fact, from our side, we are trying to get the data which can be fed to the model from either from the direct mode with the one-to-one interaction, which has become very costly, taking the size of the population in India and the spread, geographical spread, and the quantum or the number of populations in India. But that is being done once during a particular period of 5 years. But there are indirect way of getting this parallel data or simulated data which can be taken from these specific communities or specific groups like women, rural women, or as ma'am said, in the tier 4, 5, 6 level of cities, and then maybe farmers, maybe students, those who are in government schools, or maybe the Banjans, especially if you talk about their specific requirements. In fact, there are a lot of ways to get the data from them. Maybe the voice enabled data collection systems, or maybe the simulated data systems, especially from different communities. That will help us in creating models. It is not only the creating models which will be friendly for women, illiterate people, students, or the Banjans. Not only that, again, we have to blend it with the requirement of financial literacy. In addition to this personalization, in addition to the knowledge, bombing of knowledge, I would say that. And in addition to that, the behavioral part and the attitudinal part, which is more important. I think till date we have not thought about AI assisting in behavioral pattern and also in attitudinal change. These two are very important in terms of financial literacy. I think that's the way we are going to work for the future.
Thanks, Janaji. Uh, so, Mamta, that large disclaimer that we see at the end of every mutual fund ad, you must have also seen it, no? So, we don't talk about AI in it. And all of us, I mean, I think to varying degrees, have started experimenting with AI. Again, like I said, enterprise scale adoption could vary, and we would all be at various parts of the journey of trying to make it work. But do you think for customers, when a tool is able to now not just tell them what their data is or information, this is your holding, this is your XIRR, but it's now able to say, hey, you appear to be selling in market dips and buying at market peaks. Now I've suddenly told you a little bit more about, then I say, hold the portfolio. And then maybe I go wrong as an AI or I'm right, whichever way, the outcomes could vary. What do you think should be the guardrails around customers, taking this advice or being given this advice? And should we add to the length of your disclaimer there by adding 2 more sentences on AI?
Bhargavi, it's a tricky question. The disclaimer has been there for a very long time, but it has taken us a good 6 to 7 years of mutual fund Sahi Hai campaign to kind of override that thought process and move to the fact that it is not just subject to market risks, but it is definitely Sahi Hai. And we are dealing a lot more beyond that as well to get this message across. The broader picture that we want to focus on is from moving from a savings only nation to an investor friendly nation. So we have to start moving. That is the bigger picture, the bigger challenge that we are looking at. So in terms of adding more disclaimers, please don't. That's no food for thought to any of the regulators.
Not so much for just mutual fund, but what I'm saying is, as organization, as institutions, should we be calling out that we are using AI to give you an assisted insight, and you may want to deal with it as appropriate?
I think that definitely, because for an investor to know that this is not a human being, but it's a data-driven approach which is there, which is suggesting these soft nudges that I was talking about earlier in terms of you have stopped your SIPs, or you seem to have paused it. You seem to have had a skewed thing towards a particular sector. So those things, I think to a certain extent, some of the companies would definitely be doing already, for that matter. And it is like Mr. Abhilash very clearly mentioned that it is augmented, right? You have to pick and choose what you want as an investor. So while that information is available to you, it's as simple as walking into, when I want a simple filter coffee, I'll ask for a filter coffee. When I walk into any of the fancy restaurants or fancy cafes, I'll have to actually make the choice myself with the plethora of questions that come to me in terms of what is the choice that I have, right? So I have to be equipped myself to be able to make that choice. So as far as information goes, I think the investor is very much entitled to know what is driving that information or that suggestion. So that is definitely there. And the earlier point that I made was investors should also be aware and upskill themselves. And like the other panelists, Jena sir has mentioned, and Mr. Abhilash has mentioned, Aparna ma'am has mentioned, there is so much of information that is available. We can choose, let's upgrade ourselves as investors and choose what is right for us.
Perfect. So I think this is what it says. No, the more there is choice out there, the more you must know where you want to go and must know yourself. I think it couldn't be truer. And knowing yourself is knowledge. It's understanding of that knowledge, because repetition is not understanding in itself. Of course, then it's attitudinal shift, behavioral shift. And then you're saying, taking personal responsibility as well for ordering the filter coffee versus Americano. But then, Aparna, how would we, as institutions, when we are leading our customers and AI helps us lead our conversation with them, what is the level of, perhaps again at an enterprise grade I'm talking, because you have worked with very large enterprises and things really amplify, what you don't expect amplifies. Where do you think regulated institutions should think about risk governance and opportunity? See, we think risk governance and then liability, but risk governance and opportunity with AI and making that conversation with customers easier and better.
So as Mamtha mentioned, right, AI gives you a lot of options, but there is a human element which comes into the play, because you have a customer who's ready to take up that information, but being a risky decision would always prefer to have a human come into the picture, right? Now, when we look at the regulated industry, the processes become very, very important. So we are talking about models. So now who is governing the model? Who is accountable for that model? So that model process becomes one of the very major point when the data through the AI is being shared with the customer. The second part process is about the outcome, because you are going to give a recommendation to the customer that, okay, this is what AI is saying, now go ahead and you have these choices. Now those choices are part of the outcome of the data that you have processed. So the outcome process becomes very critical, and that is where the human intervention comes in. Then you have the ethical part of it. So we know the models, we all talk about that they have to be unbiased, they have to be very empathetic, but are they responsible and ethical? So who's going to take that ownership from being a regulated industry? So these are three things where the governance comes into the picture along with the human element. Now there are certain things which you have to have it now as part of the design that you are forming these new processes, or you are trying to enhance the existing processes. So there are now the architecture which is coming up where everything needs to be imbibed. So couple of things get taken care of. One is about the contact. So how are you contacting based on the AI information which is coming in and assisting the customer to take a right decision out there? Because the responsibility being a regulated entity is going to be yours. It is not going to be on the customer, because you are giving him the data information, and that individual may take a decision based on that, which could be risky, but the data and the recommendation you are providing, it is you who are providing it. So that is one thing which is getting imbibed in all the processes which the regulated industry is now actually building it up or enhancing the process. So basically what I'm saying is that it is human plus AI plus processes. So it is not going to be either or, they are all together. So processes will be coming up at the initial stage, and they will continue in the mid stage where you are recommending, and processes will also come at the end where the final decision is being made.
There'll be an iterative feedback loop.
There will be iterative, and human is still not going to decide completely using the AI information. So you are telling them that I'm using your data, I am processing it, but do you want
Human
to
in the loop.
yes.
You have
So
it.
human will be always in the loop, and at the nth moment, the customer will ask the human that the decision when I'm taking it, are you with me on that or not? And that is the critical role which RE plays there from the process perspective.
I think we had a very detailed conversation on a subject that all of us are passionate about. I'll seek your indulgence for a rapid fire round, but the nature of rapid fire means our answers have to be short. Huh? So we'll start with you, Abhilash. Quick one, a financial skill that will become irrelevant in the next 10 years.
I won't call it irrelevant, but something which will need introspection will be taking decisions on your own. Always trust a financial advisor when you're taking a financial decision.
There'll be more seeking of professional.
In mutual fund, bilkul sahi, I believe in the fact. Take the advice of an advisor.
Okay. A financial skill that will become more important.
Risk management. Every day you need to understand your personal financial risk and the organization that you're working for.
Yeah, be aware of a volatile world. Great. Aparna, to you. Robo-advisor or human advisor? We already heard what Abhilash had to say, but robo-advisor or human advisor?
Oh, that's a very, very tricky one.
And it's an or question. And
yeah.
bhi ho sakta.
Yeah. So I don't think so it's either or. It's going to be and.
Yeah. Out of syllabus ho gaya. Data privacy or personalization? It's question to you. Data privacy or personalization?
I think data privacy.
Okay. Great. To you, Mamtha. What would you teach your 20-year-old self?
Borrowing, if it's for an appreciating asset, it's good, not otherwise. So if it pays you in the future, no harm in borrowing. Else drop it.
Responsible borrowing. And what do you think is India going to behave like in 2035 with, let's say, 10 years from now in terms of their money habits?
So in my opinion, it will be closer to the Viksit Bharat, target that we are looking at. So probably more from a default saving nation to a default investing nation. More retirement plans in place, and when people would be planning for it. And it definitely look at more women investing, because currently the percentage is about 33% overall from the investor perspective. So I'm definitely hoping, because we have far more disciplined investors, traditionally. It's just that we still, many more are still towards the traditional piece, but they have to move towards the financial asset class.
Perfect.
Need
Thank you.
to ask this question to Gen Alpha, because she's talking about investment that will restrict to Gen Zs and millennials. But she needs to ask this question to Gen Alpha, whether investment is important or spend is important.
I think they'll all say investments, but they don't. They also want to spend. They want to have their cake and eat it too. Jena ji, to you, what do you think could be one reform or policy that could transform India's landscape in the future?
I think, as I said before, from the global experience and also from the Indian experience, the financial literacy should be taught in schools.
Schools. Okay.
Yeah, that is the
Change.
that's the real change that we need for making each and everyone financially literate.
And the last question to you is one habit that you wish all of us here, young and old, young and younger, would adopt.
Already, I think Mamtha ma'am and Aparna ma'am has said that savings for an emergency fund and invest for a long term. Maybe invest not in the market for a transactional basis, invest for the long term. I think that compounding factor, which is the eighth wonder, as Einstein said, that really works wonder for investments.
Perfect. Thank you. I think our panelists are extremely positive and forward looking to what AI means for them. And I think they see a lot of opportunity. I think that's the word I take away. And for a world where personalization and inclusiveness will rapidly strengthen thanks to AI. So thank you all for being here today. It's been a pleasure to talk to all of you. And thank you for your time. And dear audience, you've been great. Thank you so much.